and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I have a recurring nightmare. It has many variations. Basically, there's something very scary chasing me, and I am running fast for my life. And it usually ends with me finding a telephone. It's the old black telephone. It looks like one from the 40s, with a cord. And I get to the telephone, and I can't call for help because there's no directory. Or I get to the telephone, and I can't call for help because I don't have any change. It's a coin-operated one, and I don't have change. Or, and this is my favorite, I guess, rendition of this nightmare, is I actually get a dial tone. I know the number. It goes through, and I hear a voice saying, "The number you have dialed has been disconnected at this time." And it's not funny. But that's my dream. I have learned that my dream is reenacted by me, moi, many times. That seems to be my call in life, to need somebody to help me. Only I look for the good shepherd in human beings, and I expect you to be my good shepherd, darn it. And so I don't have to take the responsibility of figuring out how to do this. I would rather someone lead me. First marriage, I was completely in that mode. I didn't want to engage with any decisions. Whatever you want, honey, just lead me. And then I realized through lots of therapy, through learning what our gospel message really means, and through making so many mistakes, that I had to come around again and again and again, not only to the telephone, but to my own responsibility for having agency in my life. That Jesus is the one who is our good shepherd. He is the one who lays down his life for us so that I don't have to demand other people to lay down your life for me. Be my shepherd, do whatever I tell you to do. I don't have to do that. So I had a meltdown. This is all leading into something. I had an experience on Friday in which I had a complete meltdown in front of Vassar Hospital. The day was scheduled for a mammogram at the DRA Imagery Center. After finding the parking garage, found a parking place, walked in, signed in, sat, waited forever. They call me up and say, "Oh, you're not supposed to be in this office. You're in our other building." And I said, "What other building?" "Oh, it's real easy. You just walk on the sidewalk in front of Vassar, and it's right there. It's a big glass building. No left, no right, no name to the building." And I said, "You'll have to give me a map. I don't know what you're talking about." She didn't have a map. So she proceeded to repeat exactly what she said the first time. So I went out gamely and tried to find this building somewhere, left or right, near the hospital. And I ended up at the cancer center, and they didn't have an appointment for me because that wasn't the building. So I went back, but this time I had lost my cool. I had tears in my eyes, and I had regressed to about a 4-year-old. And I said, "That wasn't the right place. They don't know anything about me. Where is this mysterious building?" And I got more of the vague directions, because she's doing the best she can. But I was able to find it this time. I just persevered. She said, "You just didn't walk far enough. Keep going. Beyond the cancer center, it's there." When I found the building, it's on the other side of South Road. It has a name, the Ambulatory Center. She didn't tell me there was a South Road. She didn't say Ambulatory Center. By this time, I was like really upset. When I regress to a 4-year-old state, that's exactly what I feel like inside. I feel like, what's wrong with them? Why did I call DRA and make an appointment with DRA, and they send me to another company? Once I walked into the door of the ambulatory center, there is no one to meet me. There is a bank of elevators and a list this long of professional people that can help me. So I had to find which one I would get a mammogram on, and I wasn't getting any better. I was shrinking to a 3-year-old and 2-year-old. So by the time I got to the receptionist in that center, which is a nice center, I finally met somebody who was a good shepherd, and she said, "I'm so sorry that happened to you." But because of my dream and because of my faith, I know that when I lose my control like that and am so mad and want to blame somebody so fiercely, I really want it to be your fault. I know that God is pointing at me. They say when you point your finger at somebody, accusatory, look how many fingers are pointing back at you. 3 of them are pointing back at me. So I thought, after I recovered from this and the mammogram, where they sent me to wait afterwards, you know the room you have to wait in, ladies, until they say it's okay to go. I sat there for 10 minutes and I finally opened the door and I said, "Am I free to go yet?" "Oh, you could have gone ages ago. You don't have to wait." So I did the work that I have learned to do. How could I have changed my behavior so that this fiasco didn't happen? And how was I trying to make somebody else my good shepherd? Because as preacher, I have the good shepherd story in my head all week long. And so I knew that I was trying to make that poor receptionist who can't give directions, she was a failure because she wasn't my good shepherd. And the people at DRA and the phone company, they're a failure because they didn't tell me I had to report to a different building. They were clueless. So rather than say, "I'm mad at them, I did report them, by the way. But that wasn't the issue of spirituality that I needed to learn. I needed to learn how I gave my power away all by myself. I could have reacted differently in all of the situations I was in. But because this is my constant challenge of getting to the telephone and getting through to God and making people be my good shepherd, I knew that it was about my behavior. It was. And that I could do better because, as the reading says, Jesus Christ offers to lay down his life for me, for you, and raise it up again. Those are the stakes. He dies for us, and he raises for us. And he says, "I am your good shepherd, and I am accessible to you at all times." What I cried out was, "Where is my good shepherd? Nobody's leading me anywhere. I'm lost." And this fear of being lost is profound. I've had it since childhood. So I'm very upset. But I know my faith tells me Jesus hasn't gone anywhere. He's right there. He is right there. And I know how to access him. And he reminds me of that all the time by not trying to blame everybody when I can have agency in anything, because Jesus does this for us. His death and resurrection are a promise to us that we're going to have little mini deaths and we're going to want to blame everybody because you hurt me and I'm down on the ground. But we will rise up again because of our faith. So have no fear. The Good Shepherd is always there, even and especially when you think you are abandoned. That one I seem to need to reenact again and again. And I get it again and again, and I forget it just like that. So, anyone who has ever blamed somebody else for not being a good shepherd, and I did this, I took my husbands as prisoners and gave them the rules. You're in charge of this. Do your job. So that I could forfeit any responsibility. That's not what Jesus wants. No, he wants us to have agency, to have love for people who weren't trained well enough because nobody taught them, for people who had no idea that DRA's number was going to their circuitry. You have to have a generous heart in order to let people make mistakes and not yell at them all the time. So I learned a lesson. I didn't have the dream that night. And I woke up ready to let Jesus be my shepherd and not ask anyone else to do it for me. Amen.